Oh, okay. Well, this is actually day 5 now. The day 4 ceremony finished last night about 2 o'clock, but people talk and stuff, so I didn't get into the room until like 5, and I passed out after speaking on the phone for a while. So, right, last night was crazy. So I spoke about the first trip, and yeah, but that was, I can just really summarize it because a lot of it was just kind of things I needed to hear and things I was like processing. But long story short, the first experience was like the medicine showing me who I was and like what I was prepared to accept, what I needed to learn to grow, and that sort of stuff. So it was like just like kind of like a preparation. I saw visuals and stuff like that. It was like faces and things, and it was just like a connection. Like I saw, things vividly, like you see right now, but it was like an overlay on reality. So with the medicine, it works in the way that it like opens up parts of your mind that you don't usually pay attention to. Like your senses are not so focused. They spread out, and then your mind is able to like pay attention to different things. You kind of take a step back and just observe what's happening in your mind. So your visual centers can like fire, and your imagination can actually be vividly illuminated to you. And that's the same for like what you hear and feel. Like anything that you need to hear, it feels real because it's like someone's actually talking in your ear and you see a presence in front of you. So this hallucination makes your dreams like a reality for you, and speaks to you in a very personal way. It's like, hey, your body wants to be free and easy and carefree, like to survive, but also to like survive in a way that's joyous and gives it the fullest amount of health and vitality. So it's telling you through your subconscious and its connection to everything that, hey, you can relax, and you can enjoy life by forgetting some of these things that you've attached to your ego within your brain construct of all these anger and things that trigger you, like things that you're attached to, any addictions and all these sort of things, right? So that was that day. I might make a video about that trip, but it's not really relevant to this sort of blog I'm doing, and so I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this to keep track, like keep a record of things apart from like the notes I'm making. This is like a coherent way to get it all out, and I'm wording it in a way so that if like when I'm completely stone cold sober back, and not having this this medicine in my system, because it's recent, so I'm having put wording it in a way that's can be explained to myself or anyone like who may be watching this, who's just come back from like working a 9-to-5 job, like in a really common everyday situation, right? That's what I'm talking about. So this one is day 4, and I've called it Return. Okay, the Return. So we had like an integration talk at the beginning of this day, and we had a talk during the day about people's experiences, what they meant, how to like go further into the experience, like how to kind of like let go of some of the things we're holding on to, and just like get deeper into our healing through those processes I just explained. So we had another talk with a lovely woman who's come to visit from Michael Bettworth's course, or his church, and it's like she has messages, and the talk is called "The Answer Is You," and she goes through a load of really like positive messages, and again like explains how this medicine's working, how our mind likes to play tricks on us, and how we can kind of like avoid these pitfalls, traps, and obstacles along the way. During the day we had a mud bath as well. We set like intentions for the evening. I start thinking about that stuff, and I personally like am progressing with the Reiki. So on the top that I wear in the ceremony, I draw the symbols on. So I drew the first one the first day, second on the second day, and there'll be third on today. So yeah, even though it's day 4, it's the third day of ceremony. The first day was just preparation. So Right, a lot of this is going to sound batshit crazy. Like it's going to be, it's out there. Okay, so I'm just going to say as a precursor to this, this is my hallucination. I'm not saying any of this is real, like happened physically in the room. It's how I perceived things happening, and the gift of life it gave me, and my newfound sense of awareness that came from this experience. So that's just that being said, put out there, because if people start saying, "Oh, how this didn't happen, you're crazy," but say what you want, but I don't care. I'm just saying that, right? So people have what's often called a surgery, and that's like where, for example, if you've got loads of tension in, like I have tension in my shoulder, you've got tension somewhere in your body, if you just let the medicine like sink into your stomach, like start going around your system, and you just lie and like let that place be open, let the whatever is in pain or has tension just be open. You feel like you're in an operating theatre, like you're lying down, you feel like you're anaesthetized, and the medicine like clears it out for you, and it's the way you perceive what's happening, and you have a realization like, wow, like I realized like I hit my side on like a pool table when I was in university, and I had a massive bruise, and I've had like some problems, and I wanted to clear out my stomach because this is where like food and digestion happens. This is where like my energy and vitality comes from on a day-to-day basis. So I wanted this to be like kind of purified and get out what doesn't need to be in there, make space for something new, and make it like yeah. So I like kind of was on my side. I imagined that I saw these like beings around me, and they were like kind of just providing their healing wisdom, or like overseeing this situation. I felt like someone was holding my hand, and it was like the Mother Ayahuasca, the Earth Mother, the spirit of the sphere we're on, and I was holding the hand, and I was also like kind of holding myself, like I was kind of staying strong and being present. So my right side opened up, and it felt like on my lower rib, right the small one at the bottom. Yeah, I feel a bit different actually. So these lower ones on the bottom, right here. First it was this side, and this like big space opened up, and it felt like something was just like pulling something out of here, like this kind of like goop, or this like white kind of it felt like a cap, like someone took the cap off the end of my rib and was like, okay, yeah, we don't need that. And I saw what was doing this as it was like closing up the like space around my stomach, and it was this huge like a 6 foot kind of spider being, or like 4 legs, had a like a black body on top with like a kind of head and shoulders thing going on, kind of a bit like praying mantis, but all black, and with like more of an arching shape with a central area at the top, kind of like if you've seen Stranger Things in the second series, that big kind of spider monster. But it wasn't scary at all. It just was doing a job that needs to be done. It was like a very specialist surgeon, in my mind. So I had both lower ribs done. I switched to the other side, and that happened. And I felt like there was a new space in my abdomen, like in my guts. It was like this beating life inside, which actually I had since the first day I arrived in Costa Rica. I felt this like kind of beating just below my ribs, where it kind of opens up, and in there there was this beating, and just my heartbeat, I could feel it really strongly in there. So what started to happen was everything started to shift upwards at that point, and it was like all of my ego, all of my identity of Anthony was being pushed up and out to my head. And as it got to around this point, there was like I was like asked a question, or I asked myself a question, are you ready to die? Are you ready to give, like to not be here anymore? And I was like, oh, I felt like a sadness, like I have people I love and things I want to do in life, and I don't want to leave them, and I want to participate in this life, but I surrendered to the process. I remember that everyone says surrender and just let things happen. Like the medicine knows what it's doing, your body knows what to do, So I let go, and I just thought, well, if I need to come back, like in my mind I was like, I was going to be dead and gone for like 1,000 years, and then I might like come back, but obviously in the real world it would just be like a second past or something. So it felt like that. So I was like, okay, I'll let that happen, and I left out, and I felt like that went out into the room and just like off to the people around me, and yeah, and that was like gone, and it felt like I had been born new again. So I'd like died and been born again, and I was so thankful for that gift. Like I was alive, and I was just fresh. I didn't have this like stagnant energy anymore. It was gone, and I was able to continue again. So what then happened was this like beating, pulsing thing that was in me started like growing in it, and it had this like essence of like and like an arachnid presence, same as like that being that was like working on the energy, like I just explained. It was like growing inside me, and it was crazy because it felt like in the alien movies, like something's gonna burst out your chest. It kind of felt like that, like this all these like spiders were like weaving their way around my body, and like I know for some people that really sounds like really crazy, but it felt really loving and nice. Like it didn't feel like a scary thing. Sometimes I got a bit of a feeling like, oh my god, like these could be like eating me from the inside out and stuff like that. But I just like set trust. I was like, I trust this is good for me, and that it's a hallucination or like a mental thing. It's an energetic spiritual thing. It's just happening, and it will pass, and it will be a growth, right? So it did, and it grew all inside me. I just had faith in it. I was like saying goodbye to Anthony Farrell and to me, and I was like dying, and the faith, I returned to that. And anyway, so this like spider soul merged with me, and I had this like thing now. It's like, oh yeah, your name is Arachnid now. And I was like, okay, weird. So this partnership of like this spider identity and myself happened, and it like took refuge in my back, like in my back space, and it felt like these like spider legs were growing out of my back, but they were also like they could be changeable, like their wings or their anything, like just a kind of energetic illumination that spreads out from my back on my back end. That's just interesting, and it felt really good. It felt like I was new, I had something new. So yeah, then after that had happened, I think the shaman came over to me, like, and then they gathered around. But it was just after I did a purge, so I threw up some of the drink, but it was like in me it was a feeling like this was my sugar addiction, my like kind of self-imposed need that I need to have some sugar to kind of get some sustenance. In the morning I had like a small meal because I was fasting, but I have a small meal every day. And I had some beans, and then we didn't have time to finish to get to the talk, and I felt, I need to have something more, so I grabbed this banana muffin, and I didn't need to have that basically, and it was just me like, kind of that addiction to needing something, and sugar. So I just like retched and just like kind of puked up a little bit of stuff, probably like a mouthful, a small mouthful, and it went into the bucket, and I'll never forget what that looked like, because it was, to me, it like looked like an image of like an ink splat, like this like symbolic of this like this chaotic mess that's just been thrown out, boom, on the floor of the bucket, and next to it was a crescent shape, like a crescent moon, and then there were like smaller fractals of that, like smaller blobs that were like crescent moons, and then there's little like splats around like the star, like stars. So I was like, it's just puke in a bucket, but this is what it looked like to me. And so that's when the shamans came to me after that had happened, and they sprayed this medicine, this kind of like liquid they get from certain plants, and they spray it on you, and it's like to clear any of the bad energy that's hanging around you, you know. And then they put these like waving bamboo leaves. They wave that all around you, and it kind of, you feel the air rush around you, and it like clears out any sort of that stagnant energy that you feel maybe still hanging around you. So you had to take a deep breath, and I was like, I felt, thank you, you know, that was good. I felt like a good thing. And so then I started to I wanted to go to the fire pit. There's a fire pit outside. So I stood up and I started spinning, and like I felt like I needed to keep turning anti-clockwise constantly. And even when I was like standing up trying to just walk straight, it felt like I felt nauseous doing that, and I had to like walk backwards and forwards, but keep turning anti-clockwise. And I got to the fire. I just basically surrendered to the spirit. I was like, I'll move in whichever way feels correct, you know, whichever way feels intuitive at that moment. And it was to spin. So I kept doing that. And I just kept breathing in and out into the stomach, and following that guidance. So I got to the fire, and they say here, like, it's, you know, it's a very spiritual thing to be by the fire. And you know, you say grandfather fire. You say your name, you say your father's name, your father's name, and your mother's name to the fire, and then you communicate, or you know, you set an intention or whatever. And my message was one of you know, love and forgiveness for my family, for myself, and for you know, the whole mother father concept, and I, you know, and I had like you know, a nice communion in that way, like so then, you know, a friend walked by, and you know, I felt like I needed to throw up again, so I gathered over my buckets, and I had like my whole duvet with me. There's like these duvets they give you, and my shoes. I took everything. I had this like hat with me. I took everything outside for some reason, because I feel like I wanted to kind of lay out there for a bit. So I went to the dark patch of grass, you know, in the moonlight, and I sat down, put my bucket in front of me. I was like, I'm just going to throw up, and you know, I don't want to do it like around people and disturb any of the experiences other people are having, and you know, that sort of thing. So I sat over the bucket, and I was like, you know, like, and I just let go, but I didn't even throw up. I know, I just then like lay back, and I looked up at the stars and the moon, and I was like, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, and then I was like, okay, yeah, like now go inside. So I go back inside, spinning. I've got to write something down a second. It's like I had this image, like, oh yeah, like, oh wow, such a beautiful moon up there in the sky, and the moon was kind of like yeah, I'm here all the time, I'm here all week, you know, the kind of comedian. And so I felt like I needed to go back inside at that point, and I started spinning, and I went to the altar in the middle of the main room, and I said a prayer of reconciliation to my mother, and you know, like the mother of mankind, like the earth kind of spirit, like this home that we have you know, taken advantage of, and we take from, and we don't necessarily like give back in a good way sometimes, or we you know, we commit like these atrocities, stuff like that, right? So it's like a prayer of reconciliation, like, you know, we just want peace, and we want to do things in a loving way that is good, because we just want to live, and we can't live without this planet. So you know, we need this, we need nature to some degree, you know, and we do need it to live. And literally, as I got to the bed, it was this whole song was going on, and it was all coming to the crescendo, and then just as the song ended, I was like, boom, and the song finished, and it was silent. And like, I breathed a sigh of relief, and I felt like there were others around who were all just really relaxed. It was really quiet in the room at that point. Everybody got a breath of fresh air, and slept like logs for a minute, you know. So yeah, I had this image like talking with like the darkness or anything that's like perceived to be negative, evil, or like dark in the world, and it's like, you know, we are one together. Like we have a union. We cannot have one without the other, good without the bad, the bad without the good, and you know there's chaos in the darkness. The chaos is what all creation comes from, essentially, and you shape it and mold it into something beautiful. You direct it, you know, it's peacefully graduated towards a direction, but that raw energy is there, and so I had this feeling like, you know, we can communicate with that through the fire, and so that spoke to me. Okay, I went, okay, cool. I felt like some healing was done, and I had a time to relax. So I was like lay back in the bed, and my legs start twitching, and like they've just been twitching non-stop since the first night, and it felt like, you know, they're opening, like pathways of my legs are like opening, and kind of you know, I have a lot of tension in my legs as well, so it's kind of like making me pay attention. I need to stretch them. I need to, like, you know, make sure that I can use them better than I do already, because, you know, I can stand and I can balance and move around, but there's much more potential there, and so that was a kind of message I was getting while I was lying in the bed. So yeah, that comes from a surrender, you know, like you're letting whatever needs to happen in your body, and you're not judging it, you're not trying to stop anything or control it or worry about how it's affecting others. You know, whatever's happening in my experience is mine, and, you know, someone else can perceive that however they want. You know, I'm not intruding anywhere, I'm just doing my thing. So yeah, so that trust was there again for letting that happen, to just be with it. You know, my legs are going constantly, and then I started having this kind of like, you know, if you ever seen Doctor Strange, the movie, they do this kind of gesture where they open up a portal, and they have a device, and, you know, they do this, and it opens up a visible portal, and they can walk through and teleport and things like that. And so in my mind, I was doing that, and I don't know why, I just felt like this was natural, like, oh, I'm just doing that, and I was like looking, it was like in there, and I was like doing this, and I was like looking at it through this hole in space, and I was like, oh, what do I need to look for? Like, what am I looking at through this portal? And I thought in my mind, like, oh, I'll look, see if my phone's in my room, like my iPhone. And the reason for that was because I received a message from my partner, and I was, you know, just thinking like, that's safe, and that I wanted to listen to that message once I'd come back to my room later on. So that was like, you know, like a waiting for love, like a waiting for that love message, you know, or just paying attention to the person I love in this life, and, you know, someone I love. And that intention was then what opened up for something new to happen. It was like a devotion of service for love for another, and self-love reflected in that intention, both together. So then this, just like with that image in the bucket of the ink splat, the crescent moon and the fractal moons, I saw in this portal the moons, all of the stages of the moon in its cycles throughout time and history, all aligned together through this hole, and I saw it perfectly in one circle, this infinite stacking of all the moons through time. And out through that came into my hand this huge emerald crystal, this dense, information-packed, glowing, luminant piece of architecture. It was amazing. And it was like, I felt compelled to put it in my chest, and this was like, you know, this is your like energetic heart. This is your visualization of your heart in your psyche. And I felt thankful for that, and it went into my chest. It was like a concave cavity in there. I put it in. It was glowing, and I zipped my chest shut with like one of those plastic slidey zippers that just go shh. And I did that, and then also on top there was a black spot, and the black spot was a black ring. I drew pictures of this stuff as well. So there was a black ring and a white circle with another black circle in the middle. So it looks kind of like an eye with a black iris, and that's the heart, the zipper, and there's the ink splat look, and there's the like kind of, I visualized the moon's aligning coming through, and the thing was delivered there. So this black spot to me appeared to be like my key. It was like, this is something you can like move around your body just by like putting your finger around, and you can like move this awareness, like your mental focus. You can move it around, and you can set that point as like a focused area of intention, and do inner workings on your body that way, in your psyche, in your energetic world, which is inside each of us, like however we believe. It's belief, right? It's belief, and what I believe, if I'm healing myself, then I am, I'm believing it. So that, I moved down to my navel, and when I moved it to my navel, and the same area where this beating was, and that beating then came to the navel, and out from my navel, as I was laying on my back, it was this great flower that grew out, this bulb, and it's here, and the roots stemmed down out my back, out of the pestle, the like stigma and everything in the middle, this central part of the flower where the nectar is, came out this long tongue, this long rich nectar-filled tongue, and it was emanating like spores and just good things to the area around me. And I started hearing people around me going like and making noises like that, and stuff like that, and that was really weird. And I felt a great love, because it felt like there's something real happening here, like I'm hearing, and people are reacting to this, and whatever's happening, they're probably having their own journey, but and they might not even be aware of what's happening in me, but there was something happening, and they're vocalizing, and we're connected in that way, like it happened at the same time, it's synchronous. So there was something strange going on there, which is interesting. And as that all settled, the music stopped as well, everything was calm and quiet, and you hear the shaman in the back say, "We're now offering you all a second drink." And everyone just started laughing. I heard people like laughing because this crazy big thing just happened, and everyone had their own experiences. These huge momentous things happened. So now I felt that way, and then it was like, okay, now come and get more. So it was hilarious. I was waiting at that point for people. There's a queue building, and I was like, okay, let people queue, and I'll go at some point. While I was sat there waiting, the wind was blowing in through the door, and I heard like a noise, and I looked up just as this like plastic bag had blown in the wind, blown in through the door, come straight to my bed, and so I just went boom and caught it like in my hands like this. I was like, okay, and I folded it up and put it next to me, and it was just very strange thing, and it came straight to me, and I found out why later. So I got up to go to the drink, to go to the queue to get a drink, and I started spinning again, doing the anti-clockwise spinning while walking, and I had a message in my head, and it was that Aya has a gift for you. And it's like there's a gift that you are going to receive now, and to go to the queue to take that drink and receive. And so I was kind of caught up in decisions, which side of the queue do I go to? There's two queues, two people, and I was trying to choose. I didn't know which way to choose, so I thought, I'll wait for like information. I sat down, and I was kind of just really lost, and I looked out to the fire pit outside the door. It's like kind of exactly 180 degrees from where the ayahuasca is being served. And so I kind of went to go out to the fire again, but then I came back and I sat down on the ground again. And one of the shaman called Jürgen came to me again, and he asked if I need help. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I said I felt like I needed nourishment. I felt, because I've been sort of fasting, intermittent fasting, having one meal a day and just some juices, and I felt like I needed water. Like I really need water, because you don't drink the whole ceremony. If you drink water, you instantly you want to puke, because it mixes with the ayahuasca and curdles and everything like that. So I said I need nourishment, and he said, "Oh, come to my space." So the phone just ran out on battery. So I'll just pick up where I left off. So the shaman came to me and he asked me, invited me back to his space, and he said, come to my space, and I went with him, and they have like this chair by the wall. Each shaman has their own space, and they have some tinctures and different tools to use to kind of heal you in certain situations. And so he said, I'm going to give you a healing, and I knelt down on the cushion. I kind of like really just relaxed into it as he started, and like fell onto the floor. And he said, "Oh, no, you need to are you okay? Like you need to be awake and alert." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So I sat up and got onto the cushion and just kind of like relaxed like that, while I was upright. And so he started like doing this healing and using these, the Ikaros. They go hu sha 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 oh yeah, and do like chanting. And you have these bamboo leaves, like a brush, like a fan, throwing it all around you. And while he was doing that, I felt this sensation. Because I have this tension in my shoulder, and I realized that there was this sword that came and straight through my chest there and out the back. And it felt like this is a wound that I had, like I'd been carrying with me, and that just faded away. And the visualization of it all just left. And then I was cleansed with the spray. They use like this spray, which has a very nice pungent aroma. And he said to me after that, it's okay. You can drink some water. I think you'll be all right to have that, because it can mess with you. So I had a spin back to my bed, I had a nice old spin there, anti-clockwise. I went to the water fountain, and I kid you not, I picked up the cup and there was a spider on it, and this was one of those things that just blew my mind at the time, because it's all well and good you having these hallucinations, and it's like a psychological thing, and you can say, yeah, it's just a hallucination, but then you get these physical visualize these physical things that happen that kind of ground it and validate it or confirm certain things. And so I had all these visions of like spiders and things like that, and then there's a spider on my thing, and not to mention the spider I saw in my house earlier during the daytime. So anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So I was drinking in the bed, my legs started twitching again, and like I had to remember some things, and Jerry says this, and people say it's like there is this kind of math that gets given to you. It's like a very like coded like equation, loads of data gets kind of put into your mind, and it's very specific to your experience. So it's very detailed and cryptic. So if I say it, it's really cryptic. I'm not going to go into it because it doesn't make sense. It's just something that really speaks to me in my experience through all of the experience I've had in my past, and so that was a time for me to kind of just remember it and keep it going. And one of my intentions was to remember as well from the beginning, start of the week, I mean. So then there was like, these were gifts for my new body, and how I perceived it anyway. And I was leaning back, and this pulsing happening again. I moved that spot down to my chest, and the flower grew out again, and the flower took root in the floor, and it was this big kind of root chakra shape, and it had roots extending down. It had like a big garden, like an infinite garden of beautiful flowers and plants all around it in the ceremony hall, in the center of that space. And then I kind of like had a pain or something, and I moved a bit to the side, and then like I felt like off center from that again. And so when I relaxed back into it, the same shape occurred, but just slightly offset from the original. And then in my mind it was like, well, there's the center of the original and I've just moved, and it's like there's another one next to it. And so it kind of felt like, well, then you can move again exactly equidistant from those spaces in a different angle, and you create 3. You have 1, 2, and then you can rotate to find a third. So then you've got 1, 2, 3, and so on. This is how sacred geometry is formed, all in the perfect ratios from self-referencing data. So this gave me the realization that you don't need ayahuasca to experience this. It can happen anytime in your mind. You just need to get like a kind of handle on it and be shown or find for yourself the way to do it. It's just belief, so I just kept drinking the water, just still, good, breathing, peaceful, and let things go like that, and carried on with that awareness, let it ride out. I remembered, I visualized that the spider had come to me in the shower before I went to the ceremony. It kind of came off from the side of the corner of the room in the wet room, and it went into the shower stream, and it was like being dashed around, and it like closed itself up, and it was drowning, and it did drown. It like just kind of gave up at one point, and I pushed it to the side, like on the bath mat. I just moved the bath mat out of the way, let it dry, and like rinse the water off it, and it was, as I was picking up and trying to put it on a tissue, or like take it, put it outside, it was presenting its egg sac, like pushing it up into the air, like poof. Every time I put it back on its feet, it just flipped and pushed that up in the air. And so when I left, I put it outside, and I thought it can go into the grass or into the land, wherever it wants when I'm done. So while I'm gone, or whenever if it survives or whatever. So I imagined while I was on the bed at that point that that spider came and like kind of spoke to me in a way, like I derived like a message from it. It was like I was curious, like why was it doing that? It was a behavior I'd not seen in an insect or in a spider, and so it sparked my curiosity, and I'd given it like my best ability to be like loving towards that creature and put it outside, let it go about its business, and if it has babies in that sack, then let them go out into the world and live life as well. And so I realized that if one of those hundreds or thousands of babies in there can go out and do the same as their mother did, then that's beautiful. Like a little insect can give a high awareness being a powerful insight like that. It really reflects the beauty of life in all things, though. So no matter how small or insignificant we believe something is, the power it has to affect our minds is greater than anything fathomable, or an equal, on par with anything else. So yeah, but I didn't realize this at the time. This is something I just realized now. I came back home and the spider wasn't there, and I felt like, because I was like, oh, I've like missed out on something, because I had this idea while I was on the mat, like my ego getting involved, like, oh, I want to study this. Like I had this idea, like, oh, I want to get my little mini microscope and look at it under that, and just like it was intriguing. I just want to I like biology. I want to look at it and stuff like that. And so I felt like, oh, it's gone. Like I didn't take that second drink, like this gift that was supposed to be given to me, and I felt like, oh, I made a mistake. I missed out on everything. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever, let it pass. And I started putting things away, and I came here, and again, I kid you not, there was a spider behind this chair, just dead on the floor. And here it is. And this is why I needed, this bag came flying at me. So look there, you can see it a bit more. So that, there you go. Like it just kind of another physical reinforcement of that hallucination, right, from these psychedelics that just are in your head, but it's coming out like, and sure, you can carry on and explain this in a way like of coincidence, but coincidence is still coinciding with something. So anyway, that happened. It's very, very interesting. I feel amazing. So like since that experience, I felt great, felt full of life. I've realized that you can achieve this state of consciousness anytime. It's any place, anywhere available to you, and you've just got to believe it. It's just imagination. Like when you're a kid and you imagine things, it's real to you. It doesn't matter if you can see a physical response from it in the world or not. It's real in your mind and it's real to you in your body, and that gives you the emotional content to process any disorder in your body. Your body knows what to do when you give it the right fuel. And yeah, you can take an external medicine, but you can produce many different things in your body. Proteins, amino acids, all sorts of hormones that your body needs. That's the nourishment your body needs. And if you learn to trigger it in the right way with the right stimulus, then you can heal yourself. So the final thought I had there, in the wise words of Dr. Emmett Brown, life's what you make of it, so make it a good one.